Okay, navigating tracks in Ableton is pretty cool. I've got track 1 selected. First thing is I can just take my arrows and arrow up, arrow down, etc. And this is a handy way to see what kind of plugins are on the various tracks. I can just go up and down. Right here is a frozen track. I had to freeze it because I've got a convolution reverb and a bunch of malarkey going on in here, and I'm running out of CPU cycles. You can freeze a track by simply saying freeze track. This on a regular track is going to be available. Frozen tracks are just audio waveforms that are rendered. You can actually just flatten a track and it will bounce out all of the effects and everything. Frozen tracks still edit. You can still move stuff. You can still up and down the faders and stuff. So I can use the track navigation up and down to see plugins on every single track in this session. Plugins or lack of plugins, as it were. And I can go all the way up. Okay, I can have different views. This is the in, outs. If I was recording a big session here, I would have IOs, on every single one of these. And if I roll it down, I can say, configure all my in and out settings. Okay, right now on this simple session, which is just stems and arrangement, the only IO that I have is 1 and 2 out. Okay, but again, I can configure every single one of these just like that. Okay, but I have to open it to get that menu. Okay, opening and closing is this right here. And I can resize and I get a number of things. Right there, you can see that my voice is going through interface number 1. And actually, I'm not recording it or anything, but this is an audio channel. And my voice is going through channel 1 of this interface. And so I could, assign an input and an output on that channel and record myself here. Okay, these are my monitoring sections. This has to do with recording. If I didn't want to hear myself as I recorded it, it would be off. If I wanted to hear the input of the interface, it would be in. And if I wanted it to toggle back and forth based on how I'm playing or stopping, I would have it on auto. Okay, what are these little red flags? These red flags represent automation. So you can see and hear that I have automation going on this particular track, and that's what the red flag means. Okay, so when I roll tracks out, you can see that the one I just resized is significantly bigger. What if I wanted to make every track the same? When I open up the disclosure arrow, I can do that by I can first resize it this way. But if I hold down my option key and resize, then everything opens up and I can get it to a reasonable length that I want, reasonable height, like that. And then I can see all these regions. Option key again, and rolling these arrows empties them all down. Okay, so now they're all at a uniform height. And I did that by option dragging this right here. Okay, option closing that arrow closes everything. I can group tracks by color. Here are my drum tracks right here. I shift selected all these. I'm going to right click and put a color onto them, and they're all selected. When they're all selected, I can disable all of them. In Live, there are no mutes, as it were, on the tracks, but simply on and off via this speaker icon is what it's called. So bye-bye drums right there. Okay, I'm going to do that same thing with these guys here, which are my reactor tracks, put a color on them, and I can mute them on and off while they're selected. I can also have a solo that is based on selection. Whoops, sorry. Okay, in this case, I'm just soloing that multiple selection. Let's try that with the drums. I just shift click, play along. Okay, so that's one way of grouping something by color. You can actually group tracks as well. So I've got my drums selected, and then I can right click and say group. And then I have one overlord that closes them all up and down. I can rename it, of course, if I want, by right clicking. Okay. All right, so that's grouping. Now I can fold that up and down like so. All right, and there's not much more to that. There's some editing considerations that we will get into, but that's grouping tracks. Ungrouping is just as simple as right clicking and saying ungroup. Okay, so that's fairly much it. We have a delay, track delay. This is based on sometimes when you get big tracks that have ginormous amounts of reverbs, and in this case a Max for Live instrument and everything, they start slipping against the other tracks because of the time that it takes to go through all this malarkey here. And so that's what this little designation is right here, is a way to slip tracks against the original. Okay, so I can do this in sample based, or I can do it in milliseconds. To be honest, I never use this. I just use my ears. If something's getting out, I take the whole track and slip it. Okay, and you can do that very thing. I don't want to do it on this particular song because it's not the right time to do that, but I can select a track and right click and say select all the content of it. And in that case, then I could take this entire set of clips and slip it or move it or color it. Let's do that. Let's slip it all to one color. And there you have it. So that's obtained via select track content. Okay. So as you can see in here, I'm going to move up to a higher track. We have the ability to add automation with this right click menu, to do colors, to select the track content, to group, flatten, unfreeze. This edit info text we'll get into in the very next video. And then the stuff that you should already know by now is adding a track is Command T. Adding an instrument is Shift Command T. Okay, and then adding an aux track is Option Command T. That would be to add effects. Deleting tracks is simply a matter of doing so. Select and delete. Okay, I'm going to hide my delays. I'm going to hide my mixes. When I hide this M, my record and my solos are going to all disappear. Okay, and I just have my names. And then when I hide the I/O, those disappear. And when I hide the R, it's returns. And returns are where in this session, where I have my reverb, long delay, and master. Okay, so all those 4 buttons have the things that turn on and off. How's that? Okay, and of course, the more advanced bits, all these tracks are mappable via MIDI and via key. And if you're wondering why the hell that would be of use, you could look at my Go Live with Live to see how you can map certain tracks to things for performance. All good. Next, we're going to look at locators and info text.